You're not getting off that easy. Hey, I know a fight when I see one. Stay right there.
Comedy and drama. Two things that, while seemingly opposed, more often than not complement each other. You can have an uncomfortable family murder drama be combined with a funny southern fried detective and Chris Evans saying Foghorn Leghorn. Now I want to take a look at a character who embodies both hysterical comedy and shocking dramatic weight obscenely well. And you saw the thumbnail, you know who we're talking about. Give it up for Grunkle Stan. This icon of Western animation stands as one of the most well-written fictional characters of all time. Yes, I mean that. And we're gonna talk about it now, so let's do that. So we're gonna start with the comedic side of things. So look, comedy's subjective, I know. But Stan here, this guy, one of the top 5 funniest characters in all of fiction. He has so many banger one-liners, and here's just a few of my favorites.
You know, studies show that keeping a ladder inside the house is more dangerous than a loaded gun. That's why I own 10 guns, in case some maniac tries to sneak in a ladder.
Are you sure that open flame should be that close to that dangling cloth and rope?
I'm sure about everything. Now lube up those engine gears with some kerosene. More kerosene! Nothing you can say will change my mind, Wendy. Sometimes, a man has to steal an animatronic badger to stay in this crazy game called life.
Not to mention his mannerisms, his energy, his personality, and almost every line from this guy is comedy gold. Of course, it goes beyond just his dialogue, because this man's hijinks bring me such joy. The vandalism road trip, the attempt to kidnap Five Nights at Freddy's, the I Eat Kids balloon, the freaking I Eat Kids balloon. One of the most shockingly funny things in any show. This is shock humor perfected, right here. His energy while pulling off these various schemes is immaculate. There's just such an enthusiasm, a casualness. For a show Disney really tried to aim at children, emphasis on tried, it's shocking that this character was allowed to be such a bad role model. Not complaining though, obviously. If Stan had respect for the law, he wouldn't be Stan. But at the same time as these shenanigans, usually relegated to subplots, there's also his delightful rivalry with Gideon Gleeful, the show's central villain of the first season. Now this rivalry is hilarious, but not unexpectedly so. Their back and forth is very funny, but what really kills me about this dynamic that very few people bring up is that Stan's nemesis, his greatest enemy, is a child. Stan regularly beefs with a literal child, often getting in mental warfare with him, and it's delightful. Gideon's an equal match for him, I should clarify. So I'm laughing just thinking about the absurdity at play here. Gideon is like a legitimate, menacing demon child, so you forget he's a 10-year-old that Stan hates with a passion. Building off this, there's other instances of Stan's biggest enemies being literal children, and it kills me every time. He just has so much rage towards these kids desensitized to horror movies in particular, and anger towards these hippie teens. It's wonderful. There's also the intentional corniness aspect. This bit in particular is hysterical.
Oh, young people are into hot air balloons, eh?
Not to mention the vocal delivery helps a ton. It's just one of the top funniest voices in fiction. Now that I've absolutely 100% no exclusions at all in the entire world ever convinced you that Stan is very funny, let's get into the dramatic side of Stan. The Stan that a lot of the best episodes of the series tend to highlight. And man, it is a doozy. Stan is an incredibly layered character, and I like that the fact that he's a bit stupid doesn't undermine the dramatic side. If anything, it enhances it. But we'll get back to that. Spoilers for the main plot of Gravity Falls coming up. So Not What He Seems and The Tale of Two Stans. Two absolutely flawless episodes of television. Throughout the series, we've known that Stan is up to something, and Season 2 often cuts back to Stan working on his big spooky project. The mystery and hype are real. You want to know what the heck is happening. Why does he have the first journal? What's the big machine? Why can't he tell the kids? What's going on here? So we get to Not What He Seems, largely considered the best episode of the series. It's probably my second or third favorite. But to be fair, I absolutely adore like 90% of what the show has to offer, so that isn't good. That still means it's really excellent, like one of the best episodes. Anyway, this episode is suspenseful as heck, making a very convincing case that Stan might end up being the true villain of the series. Spoilers, he's not. But, like, you consider it with the amount of evidence they show for that. After a crazy, action-packed, mystery-filled, insane episode, the kids find the big scary portal, and the episode reaches an amazing climax that still shakes me in my old man boots. With this line.
You're gonna hear some bad things about me, and some of them are true. But trust me, everything I've worked for, everything I care about, it's all for this family.
So the portal is open, and out comes his brother Ford, the author of the journals, which is the big overarching mystery of the series besides the Stan thing. So now we get to the perfect, flawless, incredible execution that was used to make Grunkle Stan a compelling, dramatic character, as well as a comedic one. So first off, particularly genius, an important detail about Grunkle Stan is that he's not very smart. See, I alluded to this earlier. But yeah, he's like very, very not smart. And while this seems like it would affect his dramatic role for the worse, it actually enhances it. In A Tale of Two Stans, we see that Stan was always considered the screw-up out of him and his brother. Despite the social status difference, Stan and Ford remained really close. It's really wholesome stuff. But then Stan makes big mistake number 1, sabotaging his brother's future and fracturing their relationship, separating them for years. And while Ford found success at first, Stan devolved into a life of a criminal, a lot of his problems ending up being his own mistakes. His actions, his mistakes, his lack of thinking, his mistakes led him down this dark road, a shockingly tragic route to take what seemed to be a comic relief character. I absolutely love the contrast between Stan and Ford's lives that is shown in this episode. I just think it's very cool and very effective. You see Ford researching and becoming so happy while Stan just gets lower and lower and lower into this horrible life. He even gets a mullet. It's a very effective sequence. And then we get to the second big mistake. When Stan is finally invited back into Ford's life to assist the now much more paranoid version of his brother hide his research from some unexplained evil force, Stan does not take it well, claiming Ford invited him back just to tell him to get out of his life forever. This leads to a sensational confrontation between the two brothers, which ends with Stan pushing him into the portal, kicking off the events of the series in the process. And this devastating error led Stan to fake his own death and take up the identity of his brother, making money off his house, turning it into a tourist trap. Pretty epic. But at night, Stan is still trying to fix the portal. He's racked with guilt. This guy is racked with guilt. And his stupidity still plays a part in making his journey compelling. This guy has no idea how to fix the insanely complicated portal, but sticks with it, determined to fix his mistakes. It's one of the most compelling ways I've ever seen a character fleshed out, and it does not get enough credit despite Gravity Falls' immense popularity. Much like I said Wirt is a character who embodies anxiety, Stan is a character who embodies guilt. And I think it's dang fascinating and danger underrated-er. I don't know what that meant, I'm sorry. Anyway, Stan is one of the greatest fictional characters of all time, and now that I've made my point, I can go work on whatever next week's video is. Another ranking? Probably. See you then.
Aw, he's gone. I was just gonna call the boys over to place a few bets. The smart money's on skinny jeans.